Hello, America. I'm John O'Neill, and welcome to a special edition of This Week in Washington. Guns, more or less. There were 372 mass shootings last year, 64 school shootings, and there are over 300 million guns in our country.
Connors?
I'm joined by
4 years.
political strategists,
Foul-mouthed,
unexpected, and Elizabeth
very
Sloane.
effective.
If background checks are to be of any use, they should apply to all gun sales, not just some. Isn't that what Heaton Harris is proposing?
Precisely. The bill expands the scope of gun regulation. And it's yet another affront to Americans' constitutional rights.
No, the bill closes an absurd loophole, which allows people on terrorist watch lists to buy guns without any checks whatsoever.
It's an incursion into individual liberty by an all-powerful government.
What, like driver's licenses?
Driver's licenses?
It's illegal to operate a car without going through rigorous theoretical and practical assessments. That's a clear constraint on the freedom of individuals to drive cars or pilots to fly planes. You know, in Japan, chefs train for 7 years before they're allowed to serve a poisonous blowfish called fugu.
What does any of this have to do with background checks?
Is a fair question.
Does anyone in this room think that the government should abolish driver's licenses?
That's absurd.
Why? They're a government incursion into individual liberty. We accept them because they make sense. The more dangerous the machinery, the more rigorous the test should be. I think we can extend our definition of dangerous machinery to semi-automatic firearms.
Except the Second Amendment to the Constitution doesn't guarantee the right to drive cars, or operate machinery, or serve blowfish, for that matter. It guarantees the right to keep and bear arms. Perhaps you haven't read it lately.
Nothing in the bill infringes the rights of the people to keep and bear arms.
The Second Amendment was signed in a time where the average life expectancy was 38. And it was common practice for our founding fathers to resolve their differences at dawn in a gunfight. What may have been perfectly sensible in those alien times is wholly inadequate to solve the problems
That's
of the
not the
present.
rebuttal. What is she doing?
The United States Constitution has stood the test of time. It's authored to confer unimpeachable rights which don't change,
depending on which way the wind's blowing. It's so authored with the specific intent
of keeping at bay the Elizabeth Sloanes of this world who want to wipe their asses with the Constitution and replace it with their own judgment because she knows better than the founding fathers of this great nation.
Nothing is unimpeachable, not even the Constitution. It's ironic that the very statement of rights you're so quick to invoke is, in fact, an amendment.
I may not like it either, Elizabeth, but it's the Second Amendment. Comes right after freedom of speech, religion, and press, and somewhere before freedom from search and from having to testify against yourself. They're all sort of bunched together. It's called the Bill of Rights. How do you get around that?
We don't need to. Supreme Court already made it clear that the right to own a gun is subject to lawful restrictions. One of those is background checks.
Universal background checks are an infringement. What part of shall not be infringed don't you get?
I get that that's the weakest, most mind-numbing retort in your impoverished arsenal. Sort of a last refuge for those with no real argument at all.
You're talking about the United States Constitution.
If they could produce a rational winning argument, I'd gladly migrate to their side. But because it says so in the Constitution, the Bible, or my horoscope, it's not a winning argument. It's a ripcord, an intellectual equivalent of a yellow, pant-pissing wimp cowering behind mommy's skirt.
Why don't we bring this back?
No, let's not. Why don't we ask all the mothers out there who lost their children to an armed sociopath if they believe in his unimpeachable constitutional right to bear arms? Why not ask the terrified girl who locked herself in a janitor's closet at Bloomington High, forced to listen as her peers were being massacred? Go ahead, ask her. Her name is Esme Manucherian. She's standing right there.
Jesus Christ, Liz. Okay, time out. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, maybe these two will stop playing patty cake and the gloves will really come off.
Be right back.